Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We're going to talk about international relations. And I'm happy to have almost the perfect spectrum, ranging from university, my beloved university, University of Thessaloniki. I've been out of that. Research center, IMEC, industry, large industry, Cadence. Who does not know Cadence? I think it's something everybody should know in this field. And serial entrepreneur, starting from small companies, selling this company to the external world, but also member of HETiA. So unfortunately, Manolis Stratakis from a big research center could not join it for a very serious reason. He apologizes for that, but still have a fantastic podium here. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here with us. Presenting you a bit, starting alphabetically, so this happened with you, Sotiris Bantas. So it's the Latin alphabetic wording. Sotiris Bantas, who's a serial entrepreneur, who started HELIC back 2000. HELIC had been sold to ANSYS, a fantastic thing for Greek data, to ANSYS about 5 years ago, 2019. He created another company, Centaur. Centaur, he takes care of Internet of Crops. I think it's also fantastic. Myself in Switzerland, I try to join in the field of agricultural technology, Internet of Things, and I think it's really, really fantastic. But besides all that, he's a member of the HETiA board. I think this hat is very important for this discussion. Alkiviadis Chatzopoulos, professor, University of Thessaloniki, my beloved university. He graduates from there just 1 year before me, 1983. He remained. He's director of the electronics labs, if I'm not wrong. He teaches also the Hellenic Open University. He manages a team of young students for nanosatellites, and he has a second project for optical communication between nanosatellites. Today, 180 papers, participated in these different international fora. And then I think it's Sheron, Shamuilia. Sheron is you, I think, or you, Romano. Anyway, you go to Sheron, who's there. Sheron, she came from obviously industry. Before Cadence, she was with other industrial companies, and IMEC, which is a company, but not only a company, it's other research center. Been with Electrolux, Huawei, taking care of business development, technology, marketing. You make beautiful things as being closer to the industry. Now you take care of governmental affairs for Cadence. You represent Cadence in the European Chip Act. And if I'm not wrong, you are the boss of what has to do the startup of EMEA for Cadence, correct?
Boss, but supporting definitely.
Kind of coordinator. I call it boss. And my friend Romano Hoofman, I pronounce correctly the Flemish way, the Hoofman. Before IMEC, I've been to Philips, principal engineer. Philips became NXP, strategic business director, if I'm wrong, your title, and another very important role to be in charge of Europractice. Europractice is a very successful initiative, started back to the 90s and continue now. We're very happy to hear these kind of things. I would like to start perhaps from my left, Sotiris. Sotiris, I'm going to ask you first of all about you being member of HETiA board. What do you want to do from HETiA in order to open it or to attract people from here? How to exchange with the external world, how to create value for the Greek ecosystem through HETiA?
Yeah, thank you. So as we have heard earlier today from the opening remarks of Manolis Zervakis, the president of HETiA, and the members from the Hellenic Republic, from the government who joined us. We're in the beginnings of a process which is aiming exactly at that, which is forming the right collaborations and the right bridges for a number of things to happen, which have been happening through entrepreneurial verve so far, rather than organization or a premeditated approach. So one of them is definitely making our expertise and the unique innovative developments that are happening here from embedded GPUs all the way to nanosatellites that will be roaming above the skies in a short period of time and have been designed here to a large degree. So all those pockets of expertise have to become more widely known, publicized, advertised, marketed in the right way. So this is one big part of what HETiA does, and quite frankly, one of the things that inspired me for sitting on the board of HETiA is exactly this, that I found it through my own entrepreneurial quests and through working and really having friendly relationships with other fellow entrepreneurs in this region, that one of the things that we cannot have enough of is exposure to international markets and to international collaborations. So the way we will do that will be specified in due course. We have some initial ideas. Some of them are already in motion. That's why we see partners or prospect partners from places like IMEC kind of working with us and having this very important and I believe very fertile dialogue. So this is one aspect, reaching out to your birds of the same feather, like researchers in the same area in semiconductors, embedded design, IoT, AI, whom we know from past work and from past collaborations, and really kind of solidifying and formalizing those relationships. So that is going to be important. There's not much I can say to overstate the importance of those international relationships that are now, we're now starting to kind of put on our roadmap. We have been doing that more, like I said, more through initiative and entrepreneurial initiative so far, but we will have to kind of do it in a more organized manner going forward as HETiA and as a local ecosystem of semiconductors.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sotiris. And since you talked about IMEC, let's jump to IMEC. IMEC is reputed as being a very international research organization, working with companies from Japan, from the United States, from everywhere. And there are also examples of working, of creating things within international level, within Belgium. For instance, you have this initiative we talked before about automotive. Can you speak a bit about that, about this automotive initiative within IMEC?
Yeah, maybe first, I think the most important thing that we realized is thanks to the EU Chip Act. So we won one of the pilot lines. So we have the Nano IC pilot line in place. So that's a 1.5 billion investment from the Flemish government plus the European Union, and an additional billion from ASML. So it's a very big initiative. And then beyond that, we are also going to other places, as you mentioned. So we are having an intensive collaboration with Rapidus in Japan, but we are also going to build a fab in Malaga in Spain. So we are, I would say, all over the place. So we really need to choose. So to zoom in on the automotive initiative, that is something that we started very recently. And it really has to do with another thing that is coming up is chiplets. So it's not the automotive initiative, it's really the automotive chiplet initiative. And it is currently with 10 industrial players. So Cadence is one of them. And we really try to innovate because we see that chiplets is something booming very big time in automotive. And it's not something that can be done by one player on its own. So you really need to form a consortium, an ecosystem. And that's why we set up this automotive chiplet initiative.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for Romano, for that. And then, since you talk about Cadence, how do you feel being there? What do you think? Do you think it's important for you? Have you been pushing this kind of thing? Talk to us about that.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I think first and foremost, one of I would say the biggest advantage of the IMEC programs, which the Automotive Chiplet program is part of, is that they bring the entire ecosystem there. So you have the actors that will enable that chiplet for automotive to come in the market. I think someone mentioned productization earlier today, and I think you need those actors over the supply chain there to enable that going forward. I think that's already a first thing, that you have everyone there. And to be honest, with the APC program, all the 3 major ADA vendors are there. As Romano said, you can't do that alone because you need to discuss new standards. There's a lot of interdependency as well over the supply chain that is there. And by discussing it and by setting up standards, seeing like, what are the future reference architectures and such coming forward, you understand what needs to be done together and where to focus on, and like, what doesn't work is also going to provide you a lot of knowledge. I think we discussed that yesterday as well, like, failing forward. You have to know what doesn't work to see what is working as well. And of course, by setting everyone together, you share costs, but you also mitigate risks. And I think that's the biggest advantage there as well.
Thank you so much. And let me come back to the University of Thessaloniki. Of course, you're in a very good, one of the best universities in Greece. You manage a team of students that work for the European Space Agency, and you're in the center of a new ecosystem on the build-up now. Can you tell us about which role you might play in this role as University of Thessaloniki, being yourself specialist in design of ICs and this kind of things?
Well, thank you, and thank you also for the invitation to participate in this panel. Yes, we have seen, we are collaborating with European educational and research centers for many years. And thus, this brings us to the position to understand what we should do now and the next, in the future, in the next years. And for this reason, we are having very good cooperation with companies like Cadence and Synopsys. And we also have cooperations with IMEC for many years now. And lastly, we have tried to focus on space applications. We have a very good team of students. I'm really very proud of this team because the real initiative came from the students, and they are preparing 2 nanosatellites, one with a biological experiment and the other one with laser communication application, which is very high-tech, of course. And the experience we are getting out of these applications, it's very important because not only the students that currently are working on this, also for the future, and also the experience is giving ideas to new students. So we are attracting a lot of good students in these areas. And of course, I hope that also in the future, due to these initiatives about the design of microelectronics, we will also continue these topics. And I would like also to mention that among the projects of the Greek Ministry of Digital Governance, these 7 projects of nanosatellites, we are, I think, the only project that we have designed our own onboard computer and the communication board. So we have really a good experience, not only to assemble the nanosatellite, but also to construct, to design, and fabricate the PCBs. So this is very important for the future application and the future experience of the students.
Thank you. Can I ask you, insisting on that, these teams of students, is a tool perhaps to attract foreign students, also foreign talents, or just Greek students?
No. We for the moment we have students from basically from the Aristotle University, but also from National Technical University of Athens, the University of Thrace, Democritus University, and we also have students from abroad. But well, let's say Greek students working in European universities. It's a multidisciplinary project, of course. You need to have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, from Department of Informatics. It's very complicated projects. It's very good for the students because they understand what it means to work in a team, and it's very important to deliver products. This is the main difference between other research projects, European projects, and the projects of European Space Agency. You have to deliver a product.
Something unique product. Okay, so Sotiris, thank you so much. Sotiris, now, I mean, you've proven a very successful entrepreneur, being able to bring something from the beginning, from the grain to international markets. Of course, you've been exposed to VCs. You brought to VCs, you have several international customers. How can you use your experience to help support to attract this time external partners, industrial partners, VCs? How do you think, how important can be, how you can do it, this kind of thing? You can use your own networks or your diplomatic networks. How are you planning to do it?
Well, I think it's fair to say that there is an abundance of support mechanisms and informal and formal business networks that allow somebody with a good concept. Nowadays, it doesn't have to be just a concept. VCs and investors in general are getting more difficult in convincing to put their money unless they see the beginnings of a product, past, maybe in some cases past the initial proof of concept, and some customers lined up to buy it if they're not buying it already. So you need to have those ingredients. As long as you're able to get there, then you can definitely count on the support of your immediate network, but also support networks like HETiA is about to create one specifically focused on semiconductors. There's a number of other like accelerators and incubators and all sorts of things that are accessible to entrepreneurs here as they are to entrepreneurs in the Netherlands, in the UK, and so on. So I won't belabor that anymore. I think what's important, and the reason I guess we were called to speak today is how can we make that happen for semiconductor innovation, and how can we help provide catalysts for significant and exponential growth of this sector, not just in Greece, but also, of course, within the European Union borders. And I think one of the things that need to happen is we're looking for investor mentality that's, I would say, dramatically different from what it has been for the past few years. When I started my first semiconductor design company, it was the time of the dot-com boom. I know that ages me, but that's when I got my teeth as an entrepreneur. And semiconductors were not responsible for the dot-com boom, and I mean they were responsible for the dot-com boom, but not necessarily for the dot-com bust that followed it. But however, like being in the market and seeking money for a semiconductor investment after the bust was very, very difficult, because investors were burned by internet companies, by shoes.com and all those companies that were going bust at that point. Anyhow, and that kind of apprehension to hardware and semiconductor development kind of lingered on. To some extent, we still are going through it right now. So the question is, how can we achieve those very, very ambitious targets of a sovereign Europe in terms of semiconductors and a market share to the tune of 20% if we don't have capital at risk being thrown into companies, into innovators in this room, into companies of different sizes. So we definitely have to do that. That's a missing piece. I think at the very least we can, some of us, maybe most of us in this room are aligned with this target, and we will throw our experience, our force and might, and like I said before, our entrepreneurial verve and stamina into making that happen. It's just like convincing investors, convincing the people that have the money, the funds, the private equity firms, that this is a sector that's worth being invested in.
So thank you very much. What I take some from words, I think is very important, is having a coherent image like HETiA together with universities like the Competence Center is something very important to convince international venture capital, international business to come here. Sheron, you're doing beautiful things. For instance, you have participated ChipStart in United Kingdom, European Union. Please let us know something more about that.
Sure. For those that don't know, so ChipStart EU, that's I would say the incubator accelerator that is linked to the Maltese Chips Competence Center, and ChipStart UK is a separate element going forward. And the idea is to have chip-focused startups going there. And what we've done there with Cadence is provide, I would say, like a specific service tailored to startups, because of course, you know, they're not just any company, they have cash flow problems, they have issues coming on, of course, going forward. And we have a special startup cloud program that we provide as well. And we work together with them to enable that. And of course, what we try to do as well is with these startups is to also link them to our existing customers, where we say like, okay, this is something interesting. Maybe this could be of service of one of our other clients. And I think for those who have done business development or tech transfer, this is really difficult to do, getting those networks and those connections ongoing. So this is what we're doing, and as well, and this is one of the main reasons we are very active in the startup world, is because of the growth. You know, those are our potential future customers going forward. And of course, in the future, we also are a very big supporter of the virtual design platform that was mentioned this morning as well, because we think that's going to be a game changer for Europe as well. And of course, I think like the ChipStart EU, it's going to build, I would say, a startup pipeline, but it's going to emerge towards that virtual platform once it's going to be active going forward. So I think there are really good things ahead, definitely with the virtual platform going on. And it can only get better with more startups being there and having more companies local, so you can retain your talents as well, locally as well.
Excellent. Romano.
Yes, I would like to.
Please go ahead. Please go.
To that, because, well, Sheron mentioned the virtual design platform. I would not call it virtual, I would call it real. So the announcement was done last week in Ghent at FX. So the consortium for the platform coordination team has been announced. So there is now first negotiations taking place for grant agreement and hosting agreement. So it's really becoming real now. And I think it's important to connect to those initiatives as in Malta, those ChipStart EU, and more importantly, to connect to all the competence centers that also have been announced. Because the competence centers need to make sure that they go out in their countries and look for fabless design companies. And if they are not there, train people such that they can start those companies. And then we need, I would say, the entire ecosystem together to make that a success. And so I would say the spider in the center is the design platform, but then of course the competence centers are the ones that should feed the design platform with users, so to speak. And then it's important also to connect to other initiatives like the VCs, but also ChipStart EU and others. So I think all together that should really boost the design community in Europe.
Thank you. I have also a question specifically from Mike. I've been since several years in Taiwan. Taiwan is the center of the world. It's making semiconductors. You built a local center. My good friend Roger the case maker has been there. It's a long experience. How do you cooperate with local actors? It was difficult, has been accepted. I know it's a difficult question, but I think it's important to address it here, at least to unite.
I understand your question right. It is about how do we compare ourselves to the ecosystem in Taiwan, right?
So or been adapted or adopted to the local system. I mean, have you cooperated good? It was difficult, it was easy, it was something that happened straightforward.
Well, I have kind of two answers. So first of all, we collaborate quite closely with Taiwan. So there is an organization called the Taiwanese Semiconductor Research Institute, and that's kind of Euro practice in Taiwan. So we are trying to learn from them because they do this also already for many years. And a very important factor is that the Taiwanese government puts really a lot of money on the table to stimulate universities and research centers to do real design and do tape outs. And so to give a comparison, in Taiwan there are 1,800 designs taped out per year by only universities and research centers. In Europe it's only 500. Why is that such a big difference? Because in Europe the universities need to fight every time for grants, and it's a very painful process. So I would say that's one part of my answer. And the other part, I would say Taiwan has the entire ecosystem. So it has manufacturing from really silicon to up to OSAT, so packaging and test. But also on the design side, they are quite strong. So I think we can really learn from Taiwan.
So I have another, we see big letters, is another 29 seconds. Perhaps I have last question I'm tempted to ask to my Greek colleagues. What can you ask our diplomatic roads how to support internationalization? Can our embassies, in a way or another, push the visibility of organizations like HETiA, the university, or be useful for attracting here Enterprise Greece, which is a fantastic tool, help us, but can we do more than that? Beyond that, Enterprise Greece has a different role. Elias is going to speak about that, but can see something different that our diplomatic paths, our embassies can do for us.
As I said initially to your first question, we definitely need a bigger megaphone to broadcast our capabilities and our business and entrepreneurial intents. So to my experience, Greek embassies around the world, also in places like Silicon Valley, the consulate in San Francisco comes to mind, are very good venues for bringing local entrepreneurs in touch with business entities in those locations. So I think that's the very least, but that does require some work from our diplomats in those places, like even knowing who to invite and inviting them all and putting them all in the same room. So simple things like that, they tend to help because they form friendships, they form relationships that eventually materialize into investments, into business partnerships. So that's definitely, I mean, there's a longer list of wants from the local scene. We probably don't have the time to go through it, but to your specific question, yes, I think there's definitely things that can be done even on a social level.
Thank you so much. I think it's something. Alkiviadis.
Yes, also I would like to mention that it's important to, let's say, advertise the quality of education that we offer to the students in Greece. I have very long experience on sending students in IMEC or in companies around Europe for doing their diploma thesis, basically, or internships. And in any case, the students were very well accepted, and I was asked to send more students. It means that the quality of the education, especially in topics on electronics and electrical engineering, the quality is very high compared to other universities in Europe, and it's important to advertise this. I mean, to let people in Europe know that we have the best material, and new students can be involved and have good results sooner in Greece based on this CHIPS Act initiative and all this.
Ladies, gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation. I apologize to the audience for something like 2:38 of delay. So perhaps we convene again at 12:40, I think. Thank you so much. Have a nice networking break. Love it.